Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English Basics for Beginners. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Surah 16, verse number 9. And unto Allah leads straight the way, but there are ways that turn aside. If Allah had willed, He could have guided all of you, right? So let's just look very, very briefly at this important statement, and once again as a reminder. Right. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God most merciful. The supreme creator of the heavens and the earth, right? He created the heavens and the earth and everything, and then He created the angels and so on, and then out of this He created a magnificent creature called a human being. And this human being is represented by a male and a female, Adam and Eve, a man and a woman, right? And through them, we've got billions of other people coming through there. Black, white, Russian, American, everyone coming from the same family of mankind. But the devil is over here, Satan or Shaitan, and because of his three qualities of A, C, and E, arrogance, comparison, and envy. He is haughty and arrogant. He refused to bow down to mankind. He is comparing himself to mankind to say he is made out of fire. Human beings are made out of clay. Fire is better than clay, so why must he bow down? And he is envy. He is very jealous of mankind because why did trillions of angels bow down to humanity and not bow down to him? So when God most merciful gave a simple test to Adam and Eve, they failed the test. So God most merciful then condemned Satan to hell because he deceived humanity, right? Because God gave paradise for free. For all of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us paradise for free. We did not have to pay for it. We did not have to pay zakat. We did not have to pay namaz. We did not have to look after the poor, the widows, or the orphans. We did not have to go for Hajj or Umrah, nothing. We got it for free. We were enjoying ourselves thoroughly. There was no worry, no sorry. In that, this guy deceived us and he got us out of paradise. Now we are sitting here on the planet Earth. We have come to the planet Earth for a short while. Now paradise is no longer free. Now we've got to earn our way back to paradise. Now we've got to work hard towards paradise. But the price tag of paradise is very expensive, right? But Allah, through His grace and mercy, wants to see our niyat, wants to see our intention, and then Allah is Ghafur Rahim, and then He gives us paradise through His grace and mercy. But the way back to paradise is known as the SM. The way back to our house is known as the SM, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, also known as the SW, the straight way or the straight path. But Shaitan, the Satan, is still an enemy to mankind. He wants company in hell because he's all alone in hell and he wants company there. And he knows how the brain of a human being works, and that is known as the concept of suggestion. He puts a thought in the brain of man, and the man starts thinking about it, and then he starts using auto-suggestion, where he starts convincing himself about the truth of something, even if that something is wrong. This is how the brain works. It works in the Gigo principle: goodness in, goodness out, garbage in, garbage out. Truth in, truth out, falsehood in, falsehood out, right? So the devil knows exactly how the brain works, and he knows how to manipulate human beings. So as human beings are trying their level best to be God conscious and to be firm in their belief and to find the way back to God, He starts interfering with human beings. He shows them, go this way, go that way. Go this way, go that way. Think of it as a highway. Let us say you're going from Johannesburg to Durban on a highway. But on the highway, there's an off-ramp. And as you go to the off-ramp, there's a Shell garage or an Ultra City to say take a rest. But when you go on the off-ramp, instead of the rest, you also find There's amusement parks there, there's a casino there, there's so many other things there. So you forget your original destination, that you know what, my original plan was to go to Durban. But now when I saw the signboard here, I thought, let me take a rest. And when I took a rest, I found that this area is so beautiful. Then I start staying in this area here, and I forgot my original destination. Similarly, when we are trying to go back to God, when you are trying to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Shaitan confuses humanity and he makes them have a wrong concept of God. Because as the Quran says repeatedly, the Quran says God is one. Allah is one, La ilaha illallah. This is the foundational principle of Islam, La ilaha illallah. But Shaitan, he wants to confuse human beings. So human beings start saying, no, maybe God is three in one, or one in three, or maybe the tree is God, or let's start worshipping the statues. The statues are God. Or let's start worshipping that rock. That rock is a conduit or is a passage that will tell you bring us closer to God. Or let's worship human beings, or let's worship the moon or the sun or the stars. So once you start doing those type of things, you're going further and further away from your direction on how to find your way back to the Creator. In addition to that, Satan or Shaitan or the devil makes evil, makes it look good in the side of the criminals and the mischief makers, right? So they start committing evil, Machiavellian complexes, and they start justifying the evil. Once they justify the evil and they start enjoying harming other people, even if it's pranks. You know, there's a difference between harmless pranks, which are funny, which is no problem. But if there's a prank which is harming another human being, that in itself is evil and mischief making. And there's so many pranks that we see on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. So please, man, so don't get involved in pranks that will harm people or even harm animals. You know, we find some pranks where firecrackers are tied to the tail of a dog, and that's cruel. Right? So we must not do things like that just to get likes. So that is, then people become soldiers of the devil. They no longer know the difference between right and wrong. They don't even know the meanings of morals and ethics and personal integrity. They have lost their moral compass. They don't even have a compass at all. So how do we find our way back to paradise, and how do we earn the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how do we protect ourselves from the whispering of shaitan? With only one way, and that is the Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran and the Sunnah are the GPS coordinates. This is the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So once you hold firm to the Quran and Sunnah, then by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you get safely back to your original home, and the original home is in paradise. Our home is not the planet Earth. We are actually the aliens. We don't belong on the planet Earth, right? We came from paradise and we need to return to paradise. Unto Allah leads straight the way. This is the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. But there are ways that turn aside. And who turns us aside from that? It is Shaitan or Satan or the devil. He makes us confused. But if Allah wanted it, He could have guided everyone. Then there wouldn't have been necessary any need to send messengers or divine scriptures and so on. If everyone was by default La ilaha illallah, then there wouldn't have been any need for the Quran and Bibles and messengers and so on. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test human beings. He wants to test us, and He puts us through trials and tribulations. So there are those, everybody has got a choice to believe or not to believe. If you believe in La ilaha illallah, it is for the benefit of your own soul. If you disbelieve, you are harming your own soul. May all that is good for you come to you in great abundance, and after alhamdulillah.